Good evening. Welcome to Lyerly Online. Hope y'all are having a great day. So this is not actually live. This is pre-recorded. Recording this earlier today. It's 1:36. It's pre-recorded because we're having the kids' water day this afternoon, and we're hoping for a big crowd for that. And I'm going to be helping Tammy out with that tonight. So pre-recording this right now, and bottom line, I'm going down the slip and slide. It's happening. It's going down. That's happening. But anyhow, again, hope y'all are having a great day. Hope everything is going well for y'all. Yeah. Well, anyhow, we're gonna jump into some announcements to kind of let y'all know what's going on. So, as I mentioned earlier, we will be having our water day today, probably like right now. It's going down. It's off and popping, and for the kids, for the fifth grade, for pre-K through fifth grade, they're doing that. Next week, they're going to start back up youth group on Wednesday night. They're taking a break from it tonight, but they are starting back up next week. That's grades 6th through 12th, and that's 7 p.m. to 8 p.m., and super excited about that. And also for our ladies, we are going to be starting the Matchless Bible study, and if you're interested in doing that, get it with Tammy. Let Tammy know. You can text her, message her, message me, and I will let her know. But anyhow, that is going down. That's going to be starting here now. That's going to be starting at probably around September sometime. We're going to try to get that going. And also another big announcement, something I've been hinting about and ready to kind of drop, let everybody know about this huge ministry opportunity that has kind of been dropped on our doorstep, and I'm very, very excited about it. But I was contacted by Coach Cooper last week from the elementary school, from Lyerly Elementary School, and they have been doing helping hands at the school, and Coach Cooper pretty much said it. They're not going to be able to do it this year, and that these kids that depend on basically what it is on Fridays, the school sends school lunches or sends food home with the students that are in need, so that these kids will have something to eat over the weekend. A lot of these kids depend on school lunches for something to eat, and whenever they don't have it, they don't have anything to eat. And so the school sends home these meals. Coach Cooper contacted me, and just because of the pandemic, because of what's going on, the school is not going to be able to continue doing that, and ask if we would be able to continue doing that and like I said, whenever I first brought this up, this is just one of those ministry opportunities that we can't pass on, that we can't sleep on. We've got kids that depend on these meals. We've got kids in our community and this is just an incredible ministry opportunity. So I met with the CEO of Helping Hands today about what this is going to look like for us, and I'm excited about it. So I will be giving everybody a little bit more information exactly what that's going to mean and what that's going to mean for us. And it's not going to be a ton of work it's going to be some extra work for us. But that's what we're here to do. I mean, that's what we're called to do. We're called to do kingdom work, and it's going to be a little bit of extra kingdom work, but that's what we're called to do. And I believe that there are several people in our congregation and in our church that have been waiting for opportunities like this. And this is just, it doesn't require teaching. It doesn't require having to prepare lessons or anything like this. A lot of this is going to be packing boxes. A lot of this is going to be more on the organizational side of it. So for those of you who want to do ministry, but you're like, yeah, I'm not teaching, I'm not dealing with kids, and I'm not musically inclined, but I want to do some kind of ministry. This is going to be really great for y'all. This is going to be a huge opportunity. And also, with Hope for the Hungry, that goes on during the, business hours. And so also, if it's like, I would love to be involved with a ministry, but I'm at work, a lot of these we're gonna figure it out where we're gonna make it work for us, because it's kind of we'll be on our time of when we pack the boxes and everything. And then the big thing about this, and what Coach Cooper and I talked about, is that we will actually be able to, as the car riders, the parents, the families, they typically pass these out on Friday and give it to the car riders that pick up the kids in line or send the buses through. They will be coming, these car riders, these families will be leaving the school and then coming to our church and coming to our parking lot to get the food and be sent on. And so it'll be contacts that we'll be able to make. We're going to be able to put the gospel in those boxes. We're going to be able to share the gospel in that way. The buses will be coming through our parking lot so we can just put the boxes of food on the buses. And just incredible. This is such an incredible ministry opportunity, and I'm very, very excited about it. And I'll have more information coming. We're going to be having a training class coming up. Big. This is huge. This is huge for our community, huge for our church. Very, very excited about it. And obviously, be in prayer about it. Be in prayer exactly how God's going to use you in this. And I'm excited. This is typically our prayer meeting, and so this is going to be broadcasted if you're seeing this on the website, go down to the prayer request. If you have prayer requests, go down to the prayer request part and put in your prayer request. If you're seeing this on Facebook, you can drop prayer requests in the comments, or on YouTube, you can drop your prayer request in the comments in YouTube as well. But again, anything that we need to be praying about, make sure that you're bringing those up, praying about them. Make sure you're calling folks, contacting people, talking with folks, letting everybody know that they care. Anyhow, we're going to jump right into the lesson tonight. And again, on Wednesday nights, what we've been doing is I had been going through a series on David. And the unique thing about David, the story of David, the event of David, is that some things with David is you need to preach a sermon, and then some things with David is more of this is more of just a lesson. This is more of a teaching thing. And so whether or not to do a sermon series or do a teaching series, you have to kind of make this decision. And so what kind of God laid on my heart to do was to do both. On Sunday, we're going to have certain things that we're going to preach on, and on Wednesday nights, we're going to fill in the gaps and kind of tell the story and really get the story and really get the event of what happened with David and the things that he went through. Because a lot of times for most Christians, what we know about David is, he was anointed as the king. He killed the giant. Saul didn't like him. He was best friends with Jonathan, and he sinned with with Bathsheba, and that's kind of and he wrote a lot of the Psalms, and that's kind of what we know about David. But I'm telling you, I would love one day just to be able to write a screenplay of a historical drama about David's life and just really be able to bring these events to life, because they're amazing. This dude went through some stuff. He went through some drama, and again, this is just. I brought this up last Wednesday night, and one of the amazing things about the Word of God is, and how we as Christians are so blessed that it's not just, the Word of God is not just, okay, guys, here's the rule book, here's everything that I need y'all to do, and what I don't need you to do, and here's the principles, and here's the theology, and here's, this is just it. No, it's these amazing stories about these amazing men and women that we can really look at and go, oh man, this is what they went. This was real life flesh and blood people and what they went through and the drama that they went through, and it's entertaining. A lot of it is entertaining. So to kind of give you a background on what's going on, we're going to be, if you want to get up with us, I got to get to the right page myself. We're going to start off in tonight in chapter 19, and so to kind of give you a background on what's going on, David is king. He's king of Israel. He's king of all of Israel, and his son Absalom has decided that he wants to be the king of Israel. And Absalom goes through a period of time where he sits at the gate, and when David would kind of go to court, they would have court, and they would settle civil issues. Absalom would kind of sit out there and undermine everything that David was saying. Absalom would sit out there at the gate, and if someone came out and wasn't happy about the ruling that David gave, Absalom would kind of be like, "Oh yeah, no, you were right. You're David's wrong. And if I were the judge, this is what I would have done." And then also, and if particularly if it was one of those events that David's just too busy to get to the case, Absalom is undermining David, and oh yeah, I would do much better. And because of this, the Bible says that he steals the heart of the people. And Absalom goes and just kind of underhandedly and backhandedly undermines his father's authority, undermines his father's popularity, and boosts his. And then he goes around and he grabs all the support from all the tribes, and he's marching on Israel. And David flees Jerusalem. And he takes a lot of his most trusted men and generals and people that have always gotten David's back. He takes them with him, and he has a couple of people that want to come with him, but he sends them back and kind of some spies. And a guy named Hushai is one of David's spies, and also an advisor to Absalom, and gives Absalom some kind of good, bad advice, but then relays to David everything that Absalom is about to be doing. And they find out that Absalom is coming out to go into battle to hunt down David, and David splits his army into three, and he tells all of his generals, and he says, "Listen, don't hurt Absalom. Don't harm Absalom. If you can at all avoid harming Absalom, don't harm Absalom. I want him taken alive." And they all agree. Well, Absalom, they're out fighting in a wooded area, which is not typical. And Absalom gets his head caught in a tree, and it's either like this, or he has all this hair, and it tells us earlier that Absalom has this amazing hair. And he's got what was that guy in the 90s? Fabio. Yeah. I guess Absalom has this Fabio hair, going on. And also another thing, when it says he got stuck in a tree, it might have been possible that he got his hair stuck in a tree. But he's defenseless. He is stuck in this tree, and he can't go anywhere. And, some of the servants go back and they get Joab, and they tell Joab that, hey, Absalom's stuck in a tree. And so, Absalom is absolutely defenseless. There's nothing that he can do, and just totally easy for Joab to take Absalom alive at this point. But instead, Joab kills him. Joab executes him. He throws 3 spears through his heart, and then cuts him down and lets all of his shield bearers beat him to death the rest of the way. And so he goes and he tells David this, and David just is beside himself, upset, and he's weeping and upset and sad that this is going on. And that is where chapter 19, that's the end of chapter 18, and this is where chapter 19 picks up, is kind of the response of David's mourning and David's weeping. And how David responds to this, and he's still in exile at this point, and he has just received word that his son has passed. And so that's where we're going to be starting off in 2 Samuel chapter 19, verse 1, and we're going to watch a video, and I'm going to make sure that the audio kicks on. And I was bragging about this new microphone, and then I watched the recording, and I had an echo the whole time, but I've got that fixed now. At least it should. There's always something. But anyhow, gotta pay extra close attention that I don't mute this as I do it. So bear with me. I may take a couple extra seconds in the transitions here just to make sure that this is getting done right.
The king is weeping and mourning for Absalom.
So the victory that day was turned into mourning for all the people. For the people heard it said that day,
"The king is grieved for his son."
and the people stole back into the city that day, as people who are ashamed steal away when they flee in battle. But the king covered his face, and the king cried out with a loud voice,
"Oh, my son Absalom! Oh, Absalom, my son! My son!"
Then Joab came.
So basically what's happening here is they have, David's found out that, so they've just won this huge battle. They've won this huge battle where they've fought against all of Absalom's men, all of Israel, huge battle, and they've won. And so when you win this huge battle, you celebrate, and you're like, yeah, we're the champions, and all this kind of stuff. And they tell David that the battle's been won, and instead of David being rejoicing, David is really upset, and David is mourning and crying out, and really, it says that he cried out with a loud voice. He covered his face and cried out in a loud voice, "Oh, Absalom, my son, oh, Absalom, oh, Absalom." I mean, he's really, really upset about this. And so this is Joab's response to this.
Came into the house to the king.
Today, you have disgraced all your servants, who today have saved your life, the lives of your sons and daughters, the lives of your wives, and the lives of your concubines, in that you love your enemies and hate your friends. For you have declared today that you regard neither princes nor servants. For today, I perceive that if Absalom had lived, and all of us had died today, that it would have pleased you well. Now, therefore, arise. Go out and speak comfort to your servants. For I swear by the Lord, if you do not go out, not one will stay with you this night. And that will be worse for you than all the evil that has befallen you from your youth until now.
Ooh, some strong words from Joab there. All right, so David is really upset about Absalom, and Joab comes in. Joab is his general. Joab is actually the guy that killed Absalom. And man, he berates David. This is David. This is the giant slayer. This is, David, Saul killed his thousands. David's killed his tens of thousands. Joab berates him. And, David is upset over his son. He's crying out. And Joab is the one who killed Absalom. And, you would almost think that Joab would be in fear for his life. You would almost think that Joab would be like, oh man, David's going to kill me. Oh man, I've done really messed up. I better go beg for mercy. But he doesn't do that. He doesn't do that at all. In fact, he goes to David and berates David. He tells David that, man, you have shamed your army. All these men and women, that have put their lives on the line for you, you're disgracing them. And now, whether or not David was or not is beside the point. This is a general. This is a subordinate coming to the king and telling the king, "You're wrong. You're acting. We're going to all abandon you." This is crazy. This is crazy talk. And how does a guy get to this point? How does a guy get to the point where he is so bold that he feels like he can come to David and be able to say these things to him? Well, we have to look at the past. We have to look at what David has allowed Joab to do. When David is the king of Judah, and he is not the king of Israel yet. Ishbosheth is the king of Israel, and Ishbosheth's general, Abner, comes to David. Joab executes him. Joab, as we remember, when Abner comes to David, Joab executes Abner almost like a Julius Caesar style. He comes up to him and just stabs him, kills him, and no remorse. And David doesn't really do anything about it. David pronounces kind of halfway a curse on Joab. But David doesn't do anything about it. David has the guy that, Saul, when Saul was on the battlefield and tried to commit suicide, tried to fall on his own sword, and it didn't kill him, and another servant came around, and Saul's like, hey, will you finish me off? And the servant did it. David had that servant put to death for raising his hand to the king. David had the guys who executed or assassinated Ishbosheth put to death. But when Joab murdered Abner, David let it slide. When David needed somebody killed, when David himself needed some dirty work done that he wasn't willing to do himself, who did he call? He called Joab. He said, hey, Joab, put Uriah on the front line, and then when in the heat of the battle, turn away from him. And Joab did it. And so David, in a way, has given Joab this power over him. David, in a way, has compromised himself and compromised his integrity to the point where Joab does have the liberty to kill Absalom after David has told him not to. Joab does have the liberty to come into David and challenge him in this way. And, from a leadership standpoint, if you're going to be a leader, if you are in whatever form or fashion, if you're going to be a leader, you've got to make sure that you are handling yourself in such an upright way that you are being fair and just, and you don't have that person, even if it's somebody that you really think that you can trust. I mean, you need to always be handling yourself in the most upright way. Because once you compromise on things, and you compromise yourself, and David's compromised himself in a couple of things, and they've again, Joab has been the guy that when David needs some dirty work done, he goes to Joab, and he's compromised. And so as leaders, we've got to make sure, especially as leaders, that we're not compromising ourselves. We're not compromising our integrity. There is nobody who, again, almost in a way has dirt on us. There's nobody who can hold something over our heads. And that's for leaders or for anything. We've got to live in such an upright way that people can't hold things against us, because had David not allowed Joab to murder Abner, had the Saul's general and then Ishbosheth's general, had David not allowed Joab to murder Abner all those years ago, had David not went to Joab whenever he needed Uriah murdered, Joab would not be able to come into his quarters and manipulate David like this. Jeez, man, if you read this is a general telling a king these things. And he wouldn't have been able to do that had David not compromised himself. And again, this is just some results of, and again, David's human. He's a man, but this is some of the results of that. And, maybe you've went through something like this where you made some mistakes in the past and people held it over your head. And I've been there. I've made mistakes in the past, and people has held it over my head. And you know what? Sometimes you just got to own it. Those are mistakes that you've made, and here David's got to own it. David's got to go out. He's got to, because Joab does have this power over him, and Joab is right. David's got to own it, and got to go and suck it up and get out there and be the king. Even though he's kind of being manipulated into doing this, and even though he has directly told Joab and all of them not to kill Abner or Absalom, and Joab does it anyway, and Joab gets away with it because of the power that David has given over him because of compromises. So let's listen on. Let's get back to the screen.
Then the king arose and sat in the gate. And they told all the people,
"There is the king, sitting in the gate."
So all the people came before the king, for everyone of Israel had fled to his tent. Now all the people were in a dispute throughout all the tribes of Israel.
The king saved us from the hand of our enemies. He delivered us from the hand of the Philistines. And now he has fled from the land because of Absalom.
But Absalom, whom we anointed over us, has died in battle. Now therefore, why do you say nothing about bringing back the king?"
So King David sent to Zadok and Abiathar.
So basically what's going on here is we're kind of in, all right, who's king? Who's king of Israel right now? We anointed, David did a lot of good stuff. He, beat the Philistines, and, we all anointed him king. And then Absalom came along, and we all anointed him king. And he really didn't do nothing, but, we anointed him king, but now he's died in battle. And David's still in exile, so who's the king? What do we got going on here? And this is like all the rest of Israel. And so this is how David kind of kind of gets back in there and officially becomes the king again after doing this. So let's listen on and see what happens.
The priests.
Speak to the elders of Judah, saying, why are you the last to bring the king back to his house, since the words of all Israel have come to the king, to his very house? You are my brethren. You are my bone and my flesh. Why, then, are you the last to bring back the king? And say to Amasa, are you not my bone and my flesh? God, do so to me, and more also, if you are not commander of the army before me continually in place of Joab.
So he swayed the hearts of all the men of Judah, just as the heart of one man, so that they sent this word to the king.
Return, you and all your servants.
Then the king returned and came to the Jordan. And Judah came to Gilgal to go to meet the king, to escort the king across the Jordan.
All right, so a little manipulation there from David as well. So basically, what David does is there's this big dispute about who's king. And so David's got to kind of play some politics here about how is he, after being exiled, how is he going to be accepted back as the king? How is he going to do this smoothly? And so basically what he does is he tells Zadok and Abiathar, the priest, he says, listen, go through all the tribes of Israel and ask them, hey, why are you the last one to welcome the king back? Pretty much go to all of them and tell every one of them that everybody else has already accepted David as the king, and they're the last ones. They're the only ones that haven't. And what's up? What everybody else is doing it. Why aren't you? And so a little bit of manipulation on David's part. He's kind of manipulating the situation. Word doesn't travel fast. Back then, they didn't have, Facebook and Twitter and all that. So so they were kind of related. So David is sending out his priests and telling all of his priests to tell every tribe, hey, you're the last one. Everybody else has already accepted David as the king. Only you're left. What's up? Are you going to do this or not? So this brings us to a question. Okay. And this brings us to an important point about reading the Old Testament. The Old Testament is narrative, and we can take certain things in the Old Testament, like what we talked about before, about not being morally compromised, and say, yes, we don't need to be more like David was morally compromised, and that's why Joab was able to have power over him. We can see that we can see that in the text, okay? But we understand that it's not okay to be morally we don't go, hey, it's not cool to be morally compromised because of this text. We know it's not okay to be morally compromised from other texts. There are specific times when either the epistles or the gospels or even Proverbs tell us, don't be morally compromised. Don't let anybody have fault. Don't let anybody find fault with you. There are certain passages that give us that direct instruction, and we see here in the Old Testament where David was morally compromised. All right. So here we see David is manipulating people, and the way that we read this, the appropriate way to read this Old Testament narrative and see David is kind of using some political manipulation here is basically David used political manipulation. We don't look at this and go, oh, David used political manipulation, so it's okay for me to use political manipulation. No. And we also don't look at it like, oh, David's messing up here. No, we don't. for this, we don't take our, we can't look at this and go, oh, I mean, David manipulated people. David manipulated situations. It's okay for me to do it. No, it's not. This is just what happened. This is just telling us what happened. It's just telling us this is what David did. It's not telling us that it's right or it's wrong. It's just telling us what happened. And sometimes when you read the Old Testament, you just have to read it like this is what happened. And this is just them telling a story. And I've brought this up a couple of weeks ago. We've got to be really careful about putting our own morality into this. We've got to be really careful. If it doesn't tell us, hey, this is right or this is wrong, and there's not other parts of the Bible that it actually specifically says, hey, you can't do this, and what you should, obviously David probably shouldn't have manipulated people. But again, we've got to treat this just as strict narrative text of just, hey, this is what happened. David manipulated people, and he sent his priest to help him manipulate people, and it's kind of what he did, and that's just how we have to read it, because that's all it really gives us. And the most dangerous thing to do with this, the absolute most dangerous thing to do with a text like this is go, oh, David did it. It's cool if I do it. That is the improper way to read an Old Testament text. And we're going to my next Wednesday night series, we're really going to get more in depth on that. We're really going to get much more in depth on the exactly how to read the Bible, exactly how to study the Bible. We're going to go in. I'm writing it right now of just how to study the Bible. I'm very excited about it, and we're going to go through all kind of the different types of passages and the different types of books in the Bible, and kind of how to read each one, how to read the apostles, how to read an old narrative text, how to read the Proverbs, the Psalms, how to read prophecy, because each type of text you need to read and study just a little bit differently, because they're different purposes. And so that's going to be kind of the next Wednesday night series, once we kind of go all the way through the life of David and kind of get to the end of it. And we might go a little bit further, depending on if I'm done, because this is one of those ones that I want to kind of be completely done with before I start teaching it. But I'm really excited about it. And, again, we've got to be really careful about how we read Old Testament text. Is it okay to, it's just because David did it here, that doesn't mean that it's cool for us to manipulate people. So something else that David does is he goes to this guy, Amasa, and says, hey, go tell Amasa that I'm going to make him general instead of Joab, because David is obviously a little salty about this whole, about what Joab did to him. And this is really, I believe, kind of the, Joab and David's starting to separate more and more and more. And so David tells Amasa, he says, yeah, I'm going to make you the general of my army instead of Joab. And so we'll see, and maybe next week how that works out for Amasa. But, again, this is David coming in and kind of making some political ploys, and, it works out. It works perfectly. And all of the elders of Israel, it says that he swayed, he said, oh, you're bone of my bone, I'm an Israelite. And so it says that he swayed the hearts of all the men of Judah, the hearts of one man, and they were like, all right, yeah, David, come on back. You're the man. Since we're the last ones, and everybody else has already accepted you, yeah, it's cool with us too. It's cool with us too. And so this is David getting the okay to come back and be the king. And now the next couple passages talk about David coming back. It talks about his encounter with Shimei, his encounter with Mephibosheth, as we did in sermons. and then him coming back and establishing himself as the king of Israel. But anyhow, I hope y'all enjoyed that. Hope, again, y'all are having a great week. Like I said, I'm probably like flying down a slip and slide right now for this kids' water day. But again, y'all need anything, shoot me a text. Excuse me. Oh. Shoot me a text, shoot me a call, shoot me something, get in touch, message me on Facebook, whatever. Y'all have prayer requests, drop them in the comments. But let's close up in prayer. Lord, we come before you right now, and God, just want to thank you so much for this time. Thank you so much for just your word. Thank you so much of how, God, it's not just a rule book. It's not just these are the things that we have to do and can't do, but God, it's these amazing stories about these amazing people. And God, I pray that, God, I pray right now that if any of us, God, that we would make sure that we're not morally compromised, that we would make sure that there's no one that can hold events over us. And God, I pray that we are conducting ourselves in such an upright manner that we will never have Joabs manipulate us with our passing. God, I just pray that if we do, God, that we'll handle it in the wisest way possible. God, right now, just again, thank you so much for everybody who's watched this. God, I pray a special blessing on them. Lord, we love you. We give you all the honor, glory, and strength. In Christ's name, amen. Y'all have a great day. And again, y'all need anything, let me know. And we will... again, Sunday morning, if you are comfortable being here. If you're not comfortable whatsoever, it's fine. It's fine. Eric Brown is going to be preaching for us, so be lifting him up in prayer this week. And I'll see. I'll see y'all when I see y'all, but we'll always be in prayer for each other. And when this thing's all said and done, it'll be said and done. And I'm counting down the days, whenever that's going to be. Love y'all. Have a great week, and we will see everybody later.